He set fire to the stove on the first recipe I ever asked him to cook. He caught fire, and they kept forgetting the task to grab the fire extinguisher and put me out.
Oh no.
So,
Welcome to the Banter Beans podcast.
oh, my wife has come out. Hello, wife.
I'll take a look at it after I'm done with the animation.
Oh, I understand your current obsession takes priority. Hell, you'd be doing animation right now if not for the fact that we haven't recorded anything for a week.
It's fine. I need a break every now and then from learning the freaking whole process, and I still haven't learned everything because anime studios have to go through a lot.
You know what? We're talking about food this episode. We're gonna make an episode that'll make Floor fall in love with our podcast. Floor is our food man. Let's talk about food. We have 2 food topics on this list. Why not? I kind of vote we start with our most shameful food experiences and then work into how we've matured our taste buds since then.
Like fine cheese.
Not like fine cheese. Although I probably would have hated burnt cheese as a kid, and now it's something that I'll cook as a treat. So maybe you're not that far off.
What is this burnt cheese you're talking of?
I'll explain it in today's episode. How's that sound?
This is today's episode. We're just going right into it.
Oh, what the hell? You gotta give a guy a warning before you hit the record button.
Fun fact, I have been recording for 15 minutes already.
True. I really should see this coming at this point. Honestly. Okay. So food. Data. You are a man of food. Certain people might even say you are a man made of food, but we don't talk to those kinds of people.
Please no.
We're not going to get far into that. You have a relationship with food that I, until recently, didn't fully comprehend. Maybe I don't. Maybe I still don't comprehend it. Maybe you'll teach me just how far deep the rabbit hole goes and how much you're willing to fight me to the death over your love of culinary expertise or just eating in general. I don't know. Would you say that eating the food that you make yourself is always more satisfying?
Yeah, I'd say home cooked food, when you can recreate something from outside for a cheaper price, I think that's pretty good.
Fair enough. You've often called me the guy with ideas. I call myself sometimes the guy with ideas. But when it comes to food, I have no imagination. I do not know what I'm doing in a kitchen, to the point where I follow recipes almost religiously. If it's within my power, I will follow it down to the gram. Every bit of butter, everything else. I will only go off script if I'm cooking for myself, typically. And even then, I don't do that much. Cooking is scarier for me than it should be. Some of the food I've made has been satisfying, but I have made horrible culinary mistakes. For myself, for my wife, I learned a good lesson in respecting preference a long while back, and I only really needed to learn that one time, and I haven't made that mistake again. Before I take over and go on a rant, Data, I can think of 2 or 3 of your most interesting or worst culinary experiences, but would you like to share any stories first? And I have one that I would like to highlight for you, but I'll see if you'll just admit to it first. On record.
I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot of mistakes I've made and or just not amazing. More like just feeding myself. Do you want to hear what happened when I was becoming an adult? What I was cooking?
Sure.
So, in college, yes, I was vegan. My mother was vegan as well. However, once I started living on my own, I started to cook some really, bare bones, I don't want to cook because I have too much on my plate type of food. What gives me protein, carbs, and maybe a bit of nutrients? Beans and rice. Which is fine.
Oh.
A lot of people, live off of that stuff.
No, it can be pretty good. I love pinto beans, especially if you soak them for about 48 hours with some good seasonings. Like, they can go into making some really good beans and rice in my experience.
Right, and this is where it goes wrong.
Oh,
So you know how I love to experiment with things?
oh boy.
I don't remember exactly what I put in, but I do remember just, is there something in the fridge? All right, let's put it in.
Oh my god. I know what's going on though. It was just you were cleaning out the fridge for your dinner. And I have a story I can borrow from my wife of the same experience. I might have to pause for a second to get clarification on what went into it. But no, I can absolutely imagine the amazing results of what you were just describing.
Yeah, and keep in mind, like, I wanted to save as much money as possible, so think really, really cheap.
College student level of cheap, understood.
Well, actually better, in my opinion. If you're talking about just ramen every day, then no, I think I did a little better. Strangely, sometimes, like if you want to put hot sauce with, I don't know, watermelon and squash, that's the type of experimentation we're talking about.
It sounds eerily similar to something I did in middle school.
What'd you have?
I was not used to making friends when we moved to Texas. In many ways, I was struggling. There were a few people that I liked talking to, and I distanced myself hard from other people. So at the lunch table, I discovered that a good way to get people to back off is to start eating weird combinations and gross them out. The go-to that usually made my classmates gag was a combination of a condiment and a fruit, which is why I said squash and hot sauce sounded familiar. I would dip green Granny Smith apple slices in mustard and hold eye contact with the person who was annoying me while I took a bite. And it was hilariously effective. That was nasty, though. I could keep a straight face through it because I'd actually had worse. But it's not a flavor experience I recommend. Bitter green apples and how do I even describe what mustard is? Everyone knows what mustard is at this point. It's very tangy. It's a bit sour itself. But the combination was just like blech.
Yeah, sour spicy, maybe?
Yeah, and it made the apple feel soggy even though it was still crisp in my mouth, and it was just ugh. Just thinking about it is not great. But it was a surprisingly effective show of force, I'll say. All right. Can't tell if my kid was coming through the mic, so I was like, oh.
So basically, if I want to get someone off my tail, or just I don't like someone, go grab a little baggie of cut green apples, delicious yellow mustard, dip it and hold eye contact, and chew very slowly while boring into their soul.
It'd probably work. Yeah, disgust and eye contact are two very, very uncomfortable feelings, I find. A lot of people don't like making eye contact. Don't do it to gorillas. That'll backfire quickly. Anyway, so yeah, Tabasco squash. I can relate to that. But
it wasn't just Tabasco squash. It's Tabasco squash and watermelon.
Oh my god, I had not direct family, but through my godmother back when I was a kid, I knew all of her kids loved watermelon drenched in ketchup.
Watermelon drenched ketchup. What?
Watermelon drenched in ketchup. That was their favorite snack. And I watched them eat it. Like she came and visiting with her kids at my parents' place, and she brought like huge slices of watermelon and a bottle of Heinz ketchup. And they were excited, and they all sat at our dining room table and just squirted ketchup on the slices before each bite. They were totally in love with the combination. I was like, what the fuck am I watching? Like I've heard people like to salt watermelon, and that's weird, but it's like whatever, but like ketchup. Ugh.
Delicious tomatoes on
You're gonna try it, aren't you? That was not a comforting for me.
Honestly, I one day I'm just gonna think about it. I'm gonna buy a watermelon during summer, cut it up for my family, and then just look at the ketchup.
You know what?
And I'll think back.
Peanut butter on chicken nuggets guy. I totally believe you'd try it.
Well, peanut butter chicken nuggets is actually an actual culture like thing, sort of.
Peanut sauce, the Thai food thing is understandable. It wasn't even prepared special. It was just chicken nuggets out the oven with peanut butter on it. I saw the pictures.
Wait, I don't even remember if I put them in the air fryer or the microwave.
You better not have microwaved those chicken nuggets.
Poor dino nugget.
Oh my god.
No, but I needed that extra protein, you know?
So the two events in my memory that are most disturbing, one of which you thought better of, which is great because I'm pretty sure you'd be dead now. The other one, you probably wished you were dead in the moment. Microwaving sushi that was 2 days out of date.
That was already green.
That was interesting. That was already green. That turned gray.
After microwaving it. Yes.
That was impressive. Yeah, that was... You really considered it, though.
I did. I actually picked it up. I literally picked it up
pretty
with
sure,
like a fork.
Pretty sure you were mid-conversation with me and whoever else was there at the time, debating whether or not to take that bite. And all of us unanimously told you no at the picture.
Well,
so
meat turns gray after you cook it, right? The whole reason why I put it in the microwave was because I wanted to hopefully kill off some of the bacteria. But I already knew it was dangerous. The thing that made me not eat it, other than you guys telling me no, was imagine leaving fish out in the sun and not like making jerky either, or okay, maybe to the side of a trash can, and fill up your entire living room with that smell. That's what happened. That's why I didn't eat it.
Oh, well, microwaving fish tends to leave a strong smell, even when it's not like hazardous. It's why you'll see. What's up?
That's why there's a pleasant smell. The pleasant fish smell. I know some people don't like fish, but like, it's the difference between night and day.
I guess it's a very potent smell, and people who don't like seafood at all are very sensitive to that. When I worked at Walmart, there was a sign on the microwave that said "No fish," or suffer penalty of HR talk. I don't know. It was just very like there had been an incident and no one wanted to repeat kind of situation. I bet the break room smelled like fish for a long time.
Oof! Imagine getting it off the microwave.
Yeah. Oh, imagine being the reason that happened and being universally hated by the rest of the staff.
Oh. Yeah, no. There's trashy fish smell and there's good fish smell. But yes, I can totally agree with you. Smelling some really strong fishy smell in the workplace is kind of upsetting sometimes.
Right. Let's move on to your other culinary experience. Data. What is something that you've promised me you will never do again?
There's a lot of that. Which one do you want?
It's food related.
There's a lot of food related ones. Which one do you want?
Specifically salsa. Data. We're going to talk about salsa.
Oh, right.
Time that you wished it had killed you.
Gosh, yeah, no, I thought salsa was shelf staple, even after you open it.
It's got one of those pop tops for a reason.
Oh, I mean, it was pop top.
A lot of salsa jars down here. Maybe this isn't over there. They have metal lids that once you open them, a little depressed metal tab in the center of the lid pops open because the vacuum has been broken, and nothing you can do will make that tab stay down again. It is proof that the seal was broken and that the food item's shelf stability is going to take a radical drop off because of the air that it's now exposed to.
Okay, that makes sense. I do. Yeah, I didn't know they were called pop tops.
I call them pop tops. They might be something else.
It's like those little rubber like pop things. You inverse it and then just wait for it to pop.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. But no, I call them pop tops because of the audible pop when you open the jar for the first time.
I see. Yeah, no, it was a screw top. It was a pretty large jug. I think it was like a liter, maybe 2 liters.
And no one put it back in the fridge.
Well, I kept it in my room.
Oh, dude. The way you originally told me this story, your family had left it out on the counter in the kitchen. This was your own doing?
Yeah, it was, well, okay, there were 2 instances. One, yes, my family left the salsa out in the kitchen. Those were only like the small little like cups you get for to go.
Right. That's the time where you had just gotten full body tracking, and we all got to watch you do the I'm in danger dance out of your tracking. Am I right?
Yeah, no. Yeah, that was pretty much my own doing because I thought salsa was shelf stable for some strange reason. Oops.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I thought it was shelf stable, so I kept it in my room, and I was like, sometimes I'm hungry and I want something cool to eat, and it's in the middle of summer, like 100 degrees, and in a tin can of a grandma house. The tortilla chip bag, get the salsa, pour it into another container, and then close the lid, eat it. Now the after effects, yeah.
Oh god. Salsa is one of those foods that die very quickly. Restaurants make it fresh on the daily for a damn good reason. And serving day-old salsa is a good reason to have the kitchen shut down. Buddy. I'm glad you know better now. I'm not going to kick you while you're down, but holy crap did you have to crap.
You get to see it. Well, not the actual thing, but
correction, any listeners, if anyone is still listening at this point. I have not seen Data at all, IRL. I have especially not seen him on the toilet. I want that on the record. I have not seen Data on the toilet. That is never going to happen. Anyway, moving on to culinary disasters. I'm going to borrow a story from my wife to add to this train wreck. My wife and her sister used to take turns cooking for their home when their mom and dad were out. They got a little bit older. And one day, my wife and her sister realized there wasn't really much of a selection in the house for cooking. And they took a look at the ingredients and said, that wouldn't be palatable, so we're not going to cook this. We need groceries. Their dad comes home, and at first he's like, why isn't anything cooked? Because this was a normal arrangement. They're like, there's nothing to cook. And they explained what was around, and yeah, he agrees, like, I don't want to eat anything that's made of just whatever we got lying around. We'll order pizza or something. Pretty reasonable response. Their mom gets home, and reason is not in her immediate vocabulary. Nothing was cooked, so she had a problem with that. What ended up happening was, at first, a bit of shouting, because, and even her dad got involved. Was like, well, there's not really much that we can do with this. It's not really a meal. And to try and make a point, my mother-in-law decided that she was going to cook a meal out of these ingredients and prove that everyone was wrong but her. So into a pot went rice, frozen shrimp, peas, corn, I think bell peppers. Like, it was not a good combination, even just describing it. And when the dish finally finished, she was nowhere to be seen. As far as my wife's story goes, mother-in-law completely skipped out on eating what she had put together. Everyone else had to try it, and everyone else hated it. And I think they ended up ordering pizza anyway, but my mother-in-law wasn't wrong, is the moral of that story. I need to get the full ingredients list. 1 second. I have the corrected recipe. Rice, green chilies, corn, okra, and frozen shrimp. If there were any spices, that would be lost to time at this point. But that does not sound good. That does not sound good at all.
Oh.
Don't say huh like now you're going to try that too. I'm suspicious of your huh.
Okay, I can see it kind of being also off-putting with the okra, because some people just don't like okra with a like slimy taste or texture.
Allie's never been a fan of fish or shellfish anyway, so it was an immediate miss for her, even with the vegetables. But it just sounds bland.
I see. Okay, so the blandness that was kind of off-putting as well.
Potentially. I was not around at the time. Like, if they were in the same state as me at the time that this dish was made, me and my wife had never met yet. It was a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't be able to tell you from experience what that was. It sounds like a mistake. Probably was a mistake.
I'll believe you.
I believe me too. I don't want to try that. So a personal one of mine. So I'm not just sharing everyone else's problems. I had a go-to dish that I would make whenever the two simple ingredients were in the cupboard. When back in my parents' place. Sometimes there wasn't a lot of food, so I was hungry a lot, and then sometimes there was certain food. And sometimes there was food that I feel like my family shouldn't have been able to afford at our income level, but that's me just griping. Something I used to do is I would get packets of ramen. Specifically, my favorite for this recipe was creamy chicken ramen. And I would grab a can of cream of mushroom soup and just a few packets of American cheese. And I would cook up the ramen, strain the water, add the can of cream of chicken soup, and then add in the seasoning and the slices of cheese. And what I got was glop, essentially. Because I didn't use a lot of water from the ramen, and the cream of mushroom soup was very thick, combined with the ramen and then just the spice packets and cheese, it ended up coming out very, very thick. It was difficult to clean the pot as well, I remember.
Oh no. Wait, you were warming up the cream of mushroom in it with it?
Yes. I only added the cream of mushroom soup to it after I strained the water, and I would reheat the food until it was bubbling and I knew that the soup was cooked. But the result, I can't remember if it tasted good. It was very dense. It was very heavy and it filled me quickly. And that was just a go-to food for me for a while. Like whenever we had it, because the cream mushroom soup and ramen packets were cheap.
Yeah.
Really cheap. I wasn't even going to college, and it was just something I would try and hope would make it into the cart. If I was shopping, I would definitely add it. Or if my parents were going out, I would request it. And they didn't really complain because it's like $1 a can for the soup, and then each of the ramen packets were only 10 cents at the time. The economy had not quite gotten to this point. But
yes.
I could not stomach that now, having come as far as I have. Like, since meeting my wife, I've gone to a lot of really nice restaurants. I've had well prepared food. I've experienced gourmet. And now my palate is radically different, or I'd be better off saying I have a palate now instead of just being able to tolerate whatever was put in front of me. I was still picky. I still am picky. I won't eat like peas or corn because I hate that stuff.
Really?
But like, yeah. But now I'm some bougie asshole who looks for broccolini in the vegetable aisle.
What's broccolini?
Asparagus. You don't know. Why do so many people not know what broccolini is?
Does that have something to do with broccoli?
It's sort of similar. Take a piece of broccoli and merge it with asparagus. Is the best description. It's got a long stalk like asparagus, and the prongs of the top of the broccoli are a little thinner and spread out. It is really good, pan seared, like really really good. It's very crisp. It has a bite to it like asparagus. It doesn't have the same side effects, and it's not as bitter. It's fairly versatile. One of mine and my wife's favorite side dishes is sautéed broccolini, which is just salt and butter in a pan.
Oh, this thing. Oh my gosh, yes, no, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's a really good vegetable, and since I had it for the first time eating with her family, we use it a lot. I'm pretty sure there's a bag of it in our fridge right now. But like broccolini and bell peppers and just general onion and just all these things that are normal parts of my diet now, I would not have been able to enjoy a long time back. Hell, my favorite restaurant was a place called Jim's for a long time, and now that I've gotten where I am, their food is mid, like extremely mid. Like if you were paving a road, you could use their menu to keep a straight line. It is dead center of the road between disgusting and quality. It's actually impressive.
But getting that broccolini with garlic butter was pretty good. In fact, I actually thought broccolini, like, it was cooked in a certain way, and I've never seen it other than in a Chinese restaurant. You can imagine the like soy sauce flavors and whatnot with it. They braise it in a slightly different way. But no, I love that.
You know what? Sesame oil would probably completely change broccolini's flavor profile. I want to try that. Sesame oil is an amazing seasoning.
It is.
We've come a very far way. Well, I say we, but you would eat peanut butter on chicken nuggets tomorrow if I offered it to you. I'm fairly certain.
I mean, yeah, I would.
Yeah, you would. I also expect to hear a report of how ketchup on watermelon goes for you.
I'll let you know then.
Yeah, I look forward to the pictures in your Discord and the horrified responses. That's gonna be great.
Yes, I really meant that because there is a chef amongst us, professional ex-chef, and another like bunch of foodies as well. And so that's why I made that channel, because we all like cooking and food and whatnot.
Oh.
I don't know why. I think it's because I'm reserving the actual cooking stuff for like members only, but the channel, whatever I post on there is just the weirdest stuff that I can, like defrosting a whole tray of chicken with the little like, you know that little plastic pad they put on the bottom of meat?
Yeah, to absorb the blood and keep the food from going off as quickly.
Yeah, it was frozen. I didn't know what else to cook, so I tried to defrost it sort of in the oven with a low temperature so that I can pull that pad off. Very dangerous. And I immediately removed it after thinking about it for like 3 minutes. So don't ever do that, please.
Oh my god. Okay. No, don't do that. Anyone listening, don't do that. Warning, midway through the video, we are not responsible for anyone giving themselves food poisoning for listening to bad advice after we tell you not to do it.
Please don't.
No one hurt yourselves, please. Oh god, that's a fun thought. There's potential legal ramifications for the shit we say. That's not terrifying at all.
We're not
It's
telling
fine.
people to do things. We're not giving advice too much either.
No, but
Advice is don't do it.
don't do it. Don't do it at all, please. What else? Culinary adventures. We talked a lot about what we did wrong. After the conversation with Broccolini, I want to talk about what we've done right.
Yes.
Though I am not especially adept in the kitchen, there are some things that I know how to do well. I have decent knife skills, to the point where very often my wife asks me to do the cutting or the carving of fruits and vegetables, because I know how to handle a knife. I also know what knives to use for what, which is something she struggles with. The number of times I've caught my wife using a bread knife to cut meat or fruit is hilarious. Because for those who don't know, a bread knife has a serrated blade that sort of looks like hills and peaks, and it's made to just go through bread like it's butter, pun intended. But if you use it on anything else, the blade doesn't really cut right. For meat, it is an absurd nightmare to go through meat with it. It's like trying to go through someone with a hacksaw, and the surface is way too pliable, so it barely cuts. And when it does cut, it ends up leaving very jagged, gnarly, ripping and tearing motions. It's not ideal. You won't get clean cuts. And then to use it on fruit, you're basically sawing through it like it's a log. It's laborious. And my wife tuckers herself out, and she's like, "Can I have some help?" And I'm like, the carving knife is right there. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh my god! But I love her, and she's considering a cooking class specifically for knife skills and handling, which is great. I am also fairly decent at following instructions. We did do cooking class recently. I think I shared, right?
Yes, you did. It sounded wonderful.
Yeah, we did chicken and wine, which was absolutely spectacular. We ended up grouped with another couple who were drinking from the get-go. They were very sweet, though, and we had no issues sharing the labor across the board. Like, we all took turns with things we wanted. We made a reduced chicken and wine, which is done in a Dutch oven, which now I want one. Well, we have one, but I want a bigger one. And it was a delicious meal altogether. I was able to follow instructions and not screw up royally. My biggest talent in the kitchen is I know how to listen.
Well, following recipes is absolutely not a bad thing at all. I mean, you don't want the food to go in a weird direction, right? You don't want what I did in college. Look at the recipe and I'm like, I can do something with this too, right? Just throws it in. So following directions for a recipe to the T is a pretty good skill.
I can agree to that. I just feel like being able to follow a recipe is a far cry from being able to call myself like a chef. And being able to sketch or trace something I see on paper doesn't necessarily make me an artist. It means that I just have a solid attention for detail. So,
yeah, but you can spin it this way. Sure, if you trace and sketch something that's already there, it's improving your skill. Now, a professional has to deal with the legalities of it, of drawing their own things and having like background knowledge of all this other stuff. Now, spin it following recipes. Instead of a professional chef, you are a home chef because you know how not to burn things and make it disastrous most of the time.
Fair enough. I guess having the skills to not burn the house down is worth celebrating. I actually died like that before. Not me physically. Early on in mine and my wife's relationship, after we moved in together, we picked up a copy of The Sims 4 for the PlayStation, and we decided let's emulate our happy couple vibes and make a house and populate it. And we did. I spent a lot of time on the house, the home builder, because I really enjoy that. I customized a house that me and my wife were happy with, and we created our characters. And in the first day, I elected to have my character make an omelet, which is a really low level cooking requirement. He set fire to the stove on the first recipe I ever asked him to cook. He caught fire, and my wife's character was so terrified of the fire, they kept forgetting the task to grab the fire extinguisher and put me out.
Oh no.
So I died in the game day one after I spent probably the better part of an hour building the house and us putting our characters together. Shortest playthrough of The Sims ever. We kind of just turned the game off after that. It was stupid.
Sims is so funny.
It is. There's an entire other podcast where the conversations on The Sims alone, like, remind me at some point to tell you about how my sister-in-law's love life showed up in the video game as well, because that is a hilarity that my wife is regaled me with.
Coincidences sometimes.
It's sometimes video games are an emulation of life in ways that make you really upset, but later you can laugh at.
Yeah, you were talking about a cooking class. Sorry.
Yeah, I was talking about the cooking class. I can follow instructions and I can do a pretty good job. I will say, pay attention to people's preference. I did a dumb a long time ago, and you like, do you like Nutella? Data?
Yeah, Nutella's pretty good.
Chocolate hazelnut spread. I find it to be pretty delicious. And when it first came out, I got a little obsessed with it. It was pretty good. Kept getting jars, bringing it into the house. Good stuff. Maybe it hadn't just come out, but when it was just getting popular.
Like, we're kids, right?
No, actually, no. I guess Nutella's been around a lot longer than that. Correction. In my mid 20s, I started liking Nutella and bringing it into the house. I thought that was a more recent invention. My bad. So I was bringing it in the house, and I couldn't understand why my wife didn't like Nutella. She just made it clear it was like not great, and it put her off. And I was like, I know better than her. I'm an idiot. We made a batch of brownies, and something brownies are known to do after they sit out for a while is they start to dry out. My brilliant solution was to dollop a little bit of Nutella on the top of the brownie and microwave it. The Nutella melted into the brownie and it made it ooey gooey again, which I loved, but it tasted a lot more strongly of Nutella, right?
Mm-hmm.
My wife wanted some brownie and I agreed to heat her some brownie up. I decided, like an idiot, to add a dollop of Nutella for my wife without telling her. And she took a couple bites and she was like, this tastes a little weird, but thanks. And I guess at first she was chalking it up to the brownies having sat out. She said it tasted a little weird, but thanks. And I was like, is it good? She's like, I guess. Maybe just trying not to hurt my feelings or make it a problem. And I very smugly informed her that I added Nutella to it. And that if she likes it, then maybe Nutella isn't so bad. That really pissed her off. Rightfully so. In retrospect, I had no right to try and push a food on her that she already said she didn't like.
Oh, she didn't like it before.
Yeah, she didn't like Nutella beforehand, and she didn't like it after I told her that I'd put it on the brownies. And it caused a very serious loss in trust with me in the kitchen for a long time. It took a while before she'd even let me make her mac and cheese.
We learn from our mistakes.
My wife is reminding me of another mistake I made, although not within any kind of malice. I added garlic salt to the mac and cheese once, and while the flavor was nicer, in my opinion, because it was just regular Kraft mac and cheese, it gave my wife gas. She was not happy with that.
Wait, garlic salt makes people gassy?
This is what she claims. Honestly, she's got a semi-low lactose intolerance. It could have been the cheese, but she says it was the garlic salt. and I accept that it was the garlic salt because I like living without fear. Data. I like living without fear. So my wife is right. It's not because she knows where I sleep.
Allie, you're funny.
She's amazing and wonderful and totally not sitting behind me where she can hear everything I say. So, yeah, I behave in the kitchen and I follow the recipe even more than I did before. And if I want to make any alterations or if I have any ideas, I speak up to Allie and I ask for permission first because
consultation.
I am less likely to suffer wrath if she is in the loop.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, following the recipes to the T is, like I said before, important. However, now you know how I said I experimented a lot when I was in college and adulthood. After experimenting and like trying these things, tasting them, cooking them in certain ways, I have learned what does what based off of experience. So, for instance, what happens when you put a bit of sugar in the food? What does it do? When you actually cook it, it starts to caramelize something and it changes the flavor profile. So I did that a lot on trial and error. On top of that, learning how to cook, like just going through recipes of vegan cooking. There's a little difference between vegan cooking and like conventional cooking, normal cooking, because like you have to do probably 1.5 to 2 times more effort in vegan cooking in order to make it taste pretty decent, right?
Well, yeah, but I feel like for vegan cooking, it's more like I'm so used to eating meat that when meat is absent from the dish, it just changes my overall expectation. Like I've had some really good vegan and vegetarian dishes, but I've got to get into that mindset of don't expect what's not there, you know?
Yeah. I can get into it some other day, but basically instead of reduction of the plate, if you're removing something and adding more of something else, it doesn't necessarily taste better. You just need to do it in a different way. Sauces make the dish really good. I'm telling you now. If you make the sauces by hand with certain spices and made in a certain way, then you can make a dish come out very flavorful. Now, the point is, the reason why I'm bringing up the vegan food was because based off of that experience, I've also learned a lot more other fundamentals of cooking. Funny enough, there's actually an app for that on what does what. Or it was called though.
I couldn't tell you.
But yes, I've learned a lot. It's something that's unfortunately you can't really see unless I put it and upload it on YouTube, which unfortunately there's only like 1 episode of cooking or actually tasting it. But following recipes is important when you're starting out, especially.
No, I definitely see the value in that. And it's just, you said adding sugar to food, and that is something that I was alerted of you can do for when you're grilling onions, and it accelerates the caramelization when you're sauteing them. Mm-hmm. And it was a game changer, although it takes longer to do it in just straight butter in a pan if you're doing it without sugar. It also changes the flavor. And I gotta say, as delicious as caramelized onions are, you do them the sugar route, I can feel how much worse they are for you. Like, honestly, you don't even have to use a lot of sugar to kick off the chemical reaction that gets them to that point and sweetens the onion. But, like, they taste like my arteries are mad at me.
I was about to say, why don't you put those in, like, a burger, like a sweetened, savory burger?
Yeah, like a sweet burger. But if I want to do a savory dish, like a full savory dish, I shouldn't use sugar at all in the onion. I used to really love liver and onions growing up. I'm probably going to get a few people annoyed with that.
Yeah, I love liver and onions growing up too.
I'm glad that you like it. But something a lot of people don't overcome is the bitterness from the liver. And you have to prepare it a certain way. typically in my household, we would soak it in milk and then dredge it in flour and then pan sear it. And the milk neutralized the toxins in the liver that made it bitter. And it was more palatable that way. It is very dense, very flavorful meat. But it's like, for anyone who hasn't had liver, it's like the darkest meat on a chicken breast cranked up to 11 as far as that deep dark flavor goes. And it's, for me, very enjoyable. If I were to have liver and onions and do the sauteed onions, I would not want to use sugar to caramelize them, because that is not what I want on my liver. You know?
Yeah.
I would do the longer routes in a saucepan with butter over the course of probably like a half hour. That's the way I would cook those onions, and they would be a lot more savory as a result. But that's what experimentation gets you. It gets you the same place in different ways. It changes the flavor profile, and it's just not something I have a brain for. Like, I know the results of certain actions, but I couldn't use previous experience to go, aha, eureka, I can do food this way. I'm definitely not going to be making a filet mignon or anything anytime soon, because I suck at cooking meat and fish. But like, you have an elevated passion for it. You're not afraid to try new things and to cook for others with those new things. So for that, you have my respect, sir.
And eat somewhat most poisonous food.
You are as close to living embodiment of soma that I have met, but you're more the willing to try potentially dangerous and strange combinations than you are a secret superstar chef. Like, or maybe your cooking is out of this world and you're missing out on being a chef, but like, I have a feeling that more than half of the punishment dishes that Soma made in Shokugeki no Soma, you'd be like, oh, I'm down for that. Peanut butter and squid, bring it on.
Well, okay, well, I'll try it, but like, I can already taste it.
Not to get too far off topic, if you've seen one of the finales of that show, not the finale, it was like the second or third to last season. Those ingredients make a comeback in the dish that ends up winning a major competition. And it was such a neat little throwback and a tie-in. I was like, oh, that's cute.
No, I thought you were saying I was going to be the living embodiment of Gopta from Slime, reincarnated as a slime.
Why Gobita?
Because he has poison resistance thanks to Shion's cooking.
Oh, God. What is it with the secretary women being terrible cooks turning wonderful cooks? Like Shion from the time I was reincarnated with a slime, and Mio from Tsukimichi, I think is the name of the anime. Yeah, he ends up picking up a demon named Mio. She's got a weird palate. She lives as a giant black spider that eats anything and everything. But she finds inanimate objects and non-foods to be delicious as a result of her long life. And she also wants to cook for her master and sucks at it to the point where she poisons a whole bunch of people. Oh. And this feels like it's becoming a trend, you know?
It's like, it kind of has always been a trend, or always been a thing. Like in old anime, they've had the love interest make food, and the main character just looks at it. It's purple. It's mosaicked. And they try to eat it and end up passing out or something. That kind of has always been in manga and anime, at least for as long as I remember.
I guess my thinking wasn't broad enough. See, even fictional characters struggle with food. That's dumb. I'm dumb for saying that. Poison
resistance. Well, there's also another issue that I haven't gone into and I haven't really revealed to many people is, you know, my grandmother, because of her stroke from a while ago and just the COVID shot, I think her taste buds like only allow her to eat one dish, and she won't eat it again for like another couple weeks. So that's why I'm always trying to find something new.
That's such a weirdly odd problem. So, in theory, could you make like a rotating schedule for dishes if you mapped it out far enough apart?
Yeah, I could, and I did for a while. However, even if I do have something planned, sometimes my grandmother ends up wanting something specific. And usually we don't have it, or we have to go buy, I don't know, Wendy's. It's also very strange that I make something that's kind of Red Robin quality burgers, but she prefers and she wants to get Wendy's. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
I mean, sometimes you just crave fast food. Like I've had that same issue with like Ames, especially Bill Miller. It happens. It's been a fun walk through food lane.
So we haven't covered the plethora of all food topics, but it was fun going from really, really bad mistakes to, we're doing all right now.
We're not dead, and we've mostly learned our lessons about food poisoning. Oh my god.
Keyword mostly.
Mostly. Your family scares me. It's like all of you together mostly have gone through food safety training. I know you know what food safety is. I'm pretty sure you worked a job where you had to do the courses, but it feels like you generally ignore those rules in some cases.
What do you
mean? Sir, why does the smell have to be what puts you off of a piece of sushi? Why did you think salsa was shelf stable? You don't.
Okay, for the salsa one, there was a legit thought was, they sell it on the shelves, like shelf stable. It didn't occur to me that after you open it was just you have to refrigerate it.
Right, and even then, its shelf life drops off super fast, and that's because once you oxidize the fruit and vegetables in salsa, it starts to go bad immediately, buddy. It is what, lime juice with onion and tomato, a lot of very acidic components. It's going to start breaking down very quickly because acid, and when it starts to break down, it starts to decompose. When it starts to decompose, come on, this part.
We have diarrhea.
Not where I was going to go with that, but sure. My point is, it does not take long for it to go from delicious to diarrhea. That's what we learned.
It could still be delicious, but diarrhea will be there. Your system will be empty.
I want to imagine that at the first bite of the salsa after it had gone off, your stomach made a warning growl. You chose to ignore it. So you were like 30 chips in and a whole lot of regret.
You might be right, actually. I think I remember my stomach kind of going, whoa.
Usually a warning sign that your stomach's confused that you've decided to use it as a trash dump. But yeah, we're not here to make fun of you and your dietary decisions. We're just here to share that neither one of us has a perfect track record with food. Between the two of us, though, you're more likely to be able to succeed as a chef.
Sure about that.
Well, experimentation is part and parcel, and you go above and beyond in that category.
Well, you could be a great chef too. You remember these recipes if you do it over and over again to the point where you just cook it faster because you don't have to look at the thing.
I could not be a professional chef for a very different reason. I would. I've seen the kind of environment most kitchens are under with the shouting and stuff, and I would get very annoyed and very done very quickly because
Yeah.
I do not work well under pressure like that. I will stop what I'm doing and have a talk with the individual who is applying excess pressure. But I will not respond by going faster, typically.
That's true. Talking to Caleb on this topic, he was the professional chef. He was the head chef of the kitchen. Now, he says he wish he could have been the prep chef, which is, where they cut the veggies and stuff. Because being the head of kitchen means keeping track of every single thing, including your own tasks. So you're like the manager in a way. But much higher stress, like you said.
As it turns out, the game Overcooked, the amount of stress and pressure that puts between you and your friends is a very strong hint to what actually being a real cook is like, which is freaking hilarious.
You're right. We should play that game. Have it.
We absolutely should. I become a different person when I play Overcooked. My wife can tell you, like, we only started getting the 3 stars when I stopped being nice. And I regret that.
Don't worry. I've also played.
We 3-starred all but 1 or 2 missions on Overcooked 1. But I had to get authoritarian for who does what and deciding how we do things. And that's not fun.
So VR chat. Well, I forgot what's called. Cooking. That one place. We do get graded for 3 stars and stuff. That is hard.
Yes. Honestly, that is harder than Overcooked.
Yes, it is much harder.
Because not only are you dealing with the recipes and demands, you're dealing with janky VR physics.
Yep. Nothing like Cooking Simulator VR.
Yeah. In Overcooked 2, you gain the ability to throw the ingredients. That doesn't get problematic quickly, especially when you get to the levels that require throwing to both cook and get your recipes right. I think there's a level where the only way you can deliver recipes is timed throws, and missing means your recipe, your freshly cooked food falls into the abyss.
Yep, I remember that.
That's why does someone think that's fun?
Who wouldn't want to throw food in the kitchen?
Talk about cooking wars.
You think I'd eat the zombie bread?
The zombie bread?
Yeah, in the very, very beginning, the whole reason why you go on an adventure.
Oh, I know what you're referring to. I actually haven't played Overcooked 2. I'm just aware of some of the missions. I played the crap out of Overcooked 1.
Oh boy, we're gonna have so much fun.
Oh, that sounds like a threat.
No, it's gonna be fun.
We're getting grossly off topic, so I think we're pretty much hitting the end of this topic. But we've done a pretty good job covering the worst food discoveries.
Yeah, just kitchen nightmares. Actually, no, that's probably a copyright issue if I title it.
Cooking night terrors. Legally distinct.
Cooking night terrors.
It could be the name of the episode. Or not. It wasn't that bad. I mean, the salsa kept you up at night, but food is an experience. We all need to freaking eat. And what we eat definitely evolves with us. We go from eating nothing but chicken nuggets and mac to, I don't know, whatever the hell you like when you grow up. But we all have different adventures to get there. Mine is not too bad because I made my mistakes and I learned from them. I feel like you're going to have a new food experience next week. You've never stopped trying to evolve as far as what you eat and what you can cook. And I respect it, but I'll stick to my wife being the cook in the family and just doing the dishes for her. So in conclusion, pay attention to warning labels, double check whether or not your items are food or shelf stable, and pay attention if you ever take any classes on food safety, cross-contamination, and food expiration. Those are very serious matters. Please don't automatically throw them out of your head the moment that you stop working in a kitchen, for example. don't take Data's example. He's doing better now, I think. Possibly, maybe. He's still alive. It's a good sign.
I'm cooking every day.
Cooking every day. And no one has died yet, which is also a good sign. So thank you, everyone who tuned in to listen. We appreciate you coming and supporting this new attempted direction in our creator lives. I know Data doesn't get enough attention as it is. Poor guy.
What? Oh, I know. I need all the attention, please. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna say that word. I need the attention, please.
He's a total AW, like the sauce. Thank you all so much for listening, and I hope that you have a wonderful day, evening, whatever you're doing, wherever you are. I hope it's great.
See you in the next episode.
Probably. As long as he hasn't, bitten it from food poisoning.
Hey.
Every day's an adventure.
Thank you for listening to the Banter Beans podcast. If you've enjoyed this, subscribe to our podcasting channel for more future episodes, or check out Data's main gaming channel to see what we and our friends are up to on a normal day. Until next time, we hope to see you again.